Demonstrators push for an immediate ceasefire to facilitate the return of hostages. An estimated 100 captives remain in Gaza, but a third of them are believed to be dead. Israel's envoy to the United Nations says the Security Council is expected to convene tomorrow to hold an official discussion on Israeli captives for the first time. Meanwhile, the World Health Organization in Gaza says it has surpassed polio vaccination targets on day 3 of its mass campaign, with more than 161,000 children under the age of 10 being vaccinated in the past 2 days in central Gaza. The organization says at least 90% of Gaza children need to be vaccinated for the campaign to work. The campaign relies on daily 8-hour pauses and fighting between Israel and Hamas in specific areas of the enclave. Health teams are expected to move on to southern Gaza later this week and then northern Gaza.
Get in there and deliver these vaccines to these children who so desperately need it. But then there are other elements that we need to take into account, like lack of fuel, which of course is causing problems to keep these vaccinations cool. And then what is needed actually are 2 doses 1 month apart. And with these people just constantly being moved around, this also poses yet another challenge. So certainly this is of major concern to health authorities on the ground. We're talking here some 640,000 children 10 and under who actually need to get this vaccine after polio was found in the Gaza Strip for the first time in 25 years. Wei Su are going anywhere at all, Wei Su. We heard this from the US President Joe Biden just yesterday. He said to reporters that he doesn't think that the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is doing enough to reach a ceasefire and hostage agreement with Hamas in Gaza. And right now we're hearing from a number of US officials that Biden is preparing a take-it-or-leave-it deal. And if this is not taken by the Israeli Prime Minister, by Hamas, then this could potentially spell the end of the US's involvement in these negotiations. And we also need to take into account what we did hear from Benjamin Netanyahu during that press conference last night, extremely defiant, really doubling down on his demand for IDF forces to remain in the Philadelphia corridor. That is, of course, that very narrow strip of land, that buffer zone that separates Gaza and Egypt. He says that despite the pressure that he's facing, that is nothing compared to what Israel will face if military forces do pull out of that corridor. So certainly this is the main sticking point. Hamas has been saying that it will not agree to a ceasefire unless there's a full withdrawal of Israeli forces. But given what we heard from Netanyahu, that is not going to happen. And this, of course, is causing a lot of worry of these family members of the hostages who do remain in the Strip, especially after what we heard from Hamas yesterday, putting out a statement saying that Netanyahu's insistence on pressure instead of conceding a deal will mean that they will return to their families inside coffins. And Wei Su, more protests expected around the country this evening.
This corridor is different from other corridors, from other places. It is central. It determines our entire future. Its importance to us is great, but the world wants the war to end. The last thing it wants is for us to enter it, and immense pressure will be put on us. They murdered 6 of our hostages in cold blood. So after this horrible murder, I don't believe that someone would come. Someone serious would come and say, now make more concessions, you are not serious, Hamas is serious. I can't believe that this happened. I can't believe anyone really thinks that. And I can't believe that President Biden actually said that.
Meanwhile, Hamas's armed wing has warned that Netanyahu's reliance on Israeli military raids in Gaza instead of a truce deal means more captives will be returned to their families in coffins. Deal now chants reverberated in Israel as tens of thousands of demonstrators poured onto the streets in grief and anger in what appeared to be the largest protest since the start of the war 11 months ago. In Jerusalem, demonstrators gathered outside Netanyahu's private home with posters of the 6 hostages and makeshift coffins draped in the Israeli flag. A scuffle broke out when police snatched them away.